By far the most difficult times I ever had with my spouse were when we were on vacation. And unfortunately, if you don't follow me, I was married for 25 years and my wife succumbed to alcohol use disorder about 4.5 years ago. And the thing is with vacations is that you're outside your normal ecosystem, to say the least, and you're outside your normal environment. And it gives, I think they have a feeling of carte blanche, like they can pretty much do anything they want, irregardless of how it affects everybody else. But we were flying home from New York. I used to visit my parents because they were getting older, and this would have been 2019. It was ended up being the last time we ever flew anywhere. And on the way out of the airport, obviously you pass a lot of bars and restaurants, and I didn't really think of it at the time, but I think this was Amanda's idea to realize that this would be her last opportunity to drink. Because when she got home, obviously I was not, there was no allowance for that. So on the way out the exit, and you go down these flight of stairs. Once you go down the flight of stairs, you can't get back in to where the passengers, come to their planes. And I was halfway down the stairs and looked back, and she wasn't there. And I go, Amanda, where are you going? And she goes, oh, something. I forgot something. I have to go back and get it. I need to. There was something I needed to buy at the store for a friend, and we had a friend that was picking us up. And I go, okay. And I continued down to the stairs, and I got to the bottom of the stairs, and I went, oh no, she's in the airport by herself, and I can't go back in. And the thing is, you can't just walk back up the stairs and go back in the airport because you have to go back through security, and it's a big hassle. And you really can't do it without a ticket. And obviously, I didn't have a ticket because I just landed. So we had her friend was picking us up, and make a long story short, we ended up waiting for her for 2 hours. I made several phone calls to her, and I realized at the time when I got to the bottom of the stairs that I just had this gut feeling that I had just made a huge blunder, because her friend who picked us up, we live about probably a good hour and 15 minutes away from the airport, and she has 5 kids, and it was a hassle. Okay, it was a big deal, and we had to wait outside with her friend for a couple hours, and we paged her, and I called her, and there was no response. And I knew what she was doing. She was just sitting in the bar and getting blasted. And it's hard to imagine just the self-centeredness and just the complete narcissism to just really just be irregardless of everybody else's feelings. Especially, we'd already been flying for about 7 or 8 hours at that time because we had a layover in Chicago. And just to just to be that uncaring and just say, I'm going to get drunk before I get home because this is going to be my last chance. And my messages to her on her phone became increasingly more stressed, more anxiety filled, and to the point where I remember standing in front of the airport just absolutely screaming. I just could not believe we had to sit there and wait. And a lot of people say, well, why don't you just leave her? Well, that thought crossed my mind, but the thing is, you can't leave a mentally ill person in an airport, in an international airport, by herself before I get all those comments. She was not particularly stable, and I realized when I got to the end of the stairs it was going to be an issue, and I had no illusions, and it ended up being a big issue. We had to get, people say you could walk back in. You can't walk back in. If you don't fill out a ticket, you can't walk in. So eventually, we're standing in front, and I'm just so pissed off, and my friend was getting pissed off too. It was actually my wife's best friend, and both of ours. Oh. And I remember she finally showed up, and she was hammered. And I just looked at her. I go, let's just go. I don't even want to talk about it. I was so angry at the time. I think it was the angriest I ever got because it was so over the top. And the thing is, before people make a lot of different comments, because you don't really have the whole story. There's no way you can tell it in a couple minutes. But this is 5 months before my wife passed away, and I realized that she was starting to really slip. And I did have to take her on this flight because my son didn't want to go with her to New York because he knew it would be so much hassle because it had been so much hassle 4 years earlier, which was the last time we took her. And it's really, you're between a rock and a hard place when you're a family member because I couldn't leave her at home because she'd probably drink herself. She probably would have been dead I mean, really, we did that one time before for 4 days, and she almost did that. So it's an impossible situation for family members. I really make this video for the family members because there are so many just impossible situations when you're dealing with someone who is so consumed and with the disease that there is no rational thought process. And my heart goes out to you because I mean I've been through it and I understand it, and it's a big motivation of why I do this is because families don't get much empathy, and a lot of people think it's their fault sometimes, and there's nothing further from the case. Families do everything they possibly can to help the alcoholic in their family. And unfortunately, it's a mental health disease. And the person who has that disease is an independent agent. It really has nothing to do with certainly the family itself. Certainly in about 99% of the cases, it's not the family that's the problem. It's the issues that that person brought into a marriage or brought into their life from the past. And it's a sad state. And I hope this video helps. And again, I go live Monday through Friday, right around 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We also have the Facebook group. It's called There's an Alcoholic in the Family. Link is in the link tree above. And again, the coaching program is called There's an Alcoholic in the Family. Set up a call, takes about 45 minutes to an hour. We do a deep dive into what's going on with your family. I'm looking for people who want to change their lives and the lives of their family. And again, thanks so much for listening.